This is a very cool vegetable dish. It's like a meal in a dish. I'm having it as a side dish for the chicken, but it's called biryani, and it is actually made in several different ways. I'm making a vegetable version right now, but the thing is, it's not dissimilar to pilaf, and actually, it was brought to India from Persians, where pilaf originated, and boy, they know their rice dishes, trust me. And that's how this has all come together. I can picture over time how whatever you had, you put into your biryani and made it your own, and made it really one dish. So right here, I'm making a spice paste. That's just off the top, getting a spice paste going. So that's 1 onion and 1/3 cup of vegetable oil. And we're just gonna build all these flavors in. 1½ teaspoons of salt. And now we bring in some of the spices. 2 teaspoons of cumin seed. 1 teaspoon of coriander seed. These are not exotic spices. You can get all of these at the supermarket. And 3 teaspoons of poppy seed, which is kind of a fun thing that you don't usually use poppy seed in recipes, so I love it. Now, 6 cloves of garlic that have been peeled. Now remember, we're gonna blend all this up. 2 bay leaves, I'm just gonna tear them, and a whole cinnamon stick. It just makes this much more powerful. If you don't have a whole cinnamon stick, you can use ground. And you know, the thing with ground spices, once oxygen hits the spice, it just takes a little bit of the flavor down. So it's not as pungent, but you should use maybe a little bit more if you're gonna use ground spices instead. And then ginger, about 1.5 inches of fresh ginger, right in here. 1/4 cup of coconut shredded, which is starting to now get something really, really tasty and sweet and savory going. 1/4 cup of coconut milk. And, okay, so all we do now is just blend this up. Just bear with me here while I pulse it. I just wanna make sure it's smooth, because that's important. Oh, it smells so good. I'm gonna give it one more little pulse. And I think that's pretty good. Now we're gonna move on to toasting our rice. And rice being the really main ingredient in here is taken very seriously. And how it's handled and the way it's used is something that is important. I read somewhere about the biryani, if you're lucky, every single rice kernel is separated. That's what you want for this rice. So just a couple tablespoons of oil. And you want a hot pan before you get your rice in there. If the oil isn't hot, then it's just gonna be soaked up into whatever you throw in there. So for this dish, I use 2 cups of basmati rice. Just get it right in there to toast away. And it should toast pretty quickly. You can hear it right away. You listen carefully, it begins to sizzle. So that's exactly what you want. And then just stir it around to coat each rice kernel in oil, and that starts you on the path to having them all be separate in the final dish. So I think I'm pretty good here. And into this, we bring over our fabulous spice mixture. And once it gets in there, the smells are really gonna start to go crazy. Gosh. That's the thing I just absolutely love about Indian food, is it's just a treat for all the senses. It's colorful, it smells amazing. It's just, you know, I love the exoticness of it. And I also love that it doesn't have to be exotic to do it. You can just make that exotic vibe by simplifying a little bit. So I'm just stirring this up here and cooking off the spice a little bit. I'm in phase 2 of this fabulous vegetable biryani dish, which is all sorts of wonderful aromatic things that I blended together into a spice paste. Then I toasted some rice. Then that cooks away for a little while, and then we get some vegetables and some liquid for it to simmer away. So I have 2 potatoes. I've already pretty finely chopped one, which means that you just carefully, again, hold it with your fingers under and make slices that are probably about 1/2 inch wide, and then stack them on top of each other and do the same, make 1/2 inch sort of French fries like on each one. This is important because you have the rice and you don't want big chunks of potatoes in here. And then just go across crosswise and make them Again, a nice cube. And then same thing with carrots. Now I'm using potatoes, carrots, and peas in this. There are different things that you can put in depending on what you like. And of course, traditionally in India, there are all kinds of regional possibilities as well. But again, like I often do when I go to a restaurant, I have something that just delights me, and then I come home and try to figure out how to make it. And what I'm psyched about this is that when we were at a restaurant recently, these are the two exact things that my son Luca ordered. So making this at home is going to be exciting for him. So here we go, cutting this up. And my spice mix over there is probably all cooked up and beautifully infused into the rice kernels. So I'm going to take a look and just see how they're doing. Smells so good. Yum. All right, I'm going to get the vegetables in. And we are almost there. Don't forget about my Indian spiced chicken, which is going to be such an amazing combination. Okay, just stir this around. I'm going to turn this heat up because I'm bringing in the liquids here. So for this much, where I have 2 cups of rice and all these vegetables, I'm doing 3/4 of a cup of coconut milk. And then 2 1/3 cup of water. Kind of important that you measure your liquids properly here. Remember, this is a certain technique for this dish, and we want to make sure that it's cooked properly. And don't stir it much. That's another, if you stir, you bring out the gluten in rice. And all I want to do is just make sure that the coconut milk and the water have combined. Okay, this will come to a simmer, and I'll put the top on, and there'll be a total of 20 minutes of cooking. But with 5 minutes left, I'm going to take a 10-ounce bag of frozen peas and just strew them over the top and then let them cook in the last 5 minutes. Now, I have my biryani, which is completely cooked. I put those peas on there, and all I'm going to do is just take a fork and mix it all in and make sure that all of the rice is completely, this is like being in a foreign country right now, and all you are is in your own kitchen with something as basic as a few little pieces of chicken cooked in some spices and rice. All right, just dump this into my serving bowl. All right, then just pour it in. That's beautiful.